So you're driving to work and you get sideswiped. Fortunately, you're not hurt and you think your day is already bad. But then all of a sudden it goes from bad to worse because when you're pulling over, you get slammed in the back. I'm Chase Elleby. This is Jared Easter. We're partners here at Williams, Elleby, Howard & Easter. And today we're going to talk to you about, unique car wreck scenarios where you have multiple people that could potentially be at fault for causing a wreck. So the scenario I just described is actually a scenario that happened recently to one of my clients where she was driving to work, got sideswiped, nothing crazy, pulled over on the side of the road, and as she's pulled over, she all of a sudden got smashed in the back. So that is, kind of a textbook example, if you will, of a multi-car collision. The issue is going to be, well, one, who's responsible for the collision, okay? Is it both cars or is it the last car? And more importantly, who's going to be responsible for the injuries, right? Because she wasn't hurt at the sideswipe. The sideswipe wasn't very large impact or anything like that, but the rear end collision was pretty significant. So in that scenario, what are you looking at as the lawyer to try to determine who's at fault, who's responsible, all that type of stuff?
Well, that's an interesting one. I think it's gonna, Georgia law allows for apportionment of damages. Mm-hmm. So not just one person has to be at fault. You can actually split it up amongst the parties. This one is a little less clear than some, but I think you're gonna start looking, if I'm defending the second car, I'm going to say the first car caused all of this because without the sideswipe, there's no chance that she's pulling over to get rear-ended. Now, of course, it's going to go the other way from the sideswiping car to say, well, we didn't really cause any injuries. It was more the bigger impact of the second crash that caused the injuries. So I think, from my standpoint, it's going to be very dependent and fact-specific, talking to my client about, or your client, about the mechanics of how it happened. How big was the impact? What did she feel? Was she pulled completely off the road? Did she have any pain before or after, to really start to try to get into the details of how that apportionment's going to work out?
Yeah, so practically speaking too, just in any case where you have multiple people that are going to be pointing the fingers at each other, which is certainly going to happen in this example, and I know Jared will have an example here in a moment too. The insurance companies, and of course I'm jaded because I have to fight with insurance companies all the time, they are in the business of collecting premiums and denying claims. So at any moment that they can point the finger at someone else, they're going to do it, right? So in a situation where you have multiple cars that are at fault, they're literally going to be fighting amongst each other to determine who's most at fault, all at fault, who's going to pay what, this, that, and the other. And it becomes a big headache, especially when you're dealing on the pre-suit side and when you're dealing with the adjusters, when most adjusters for most large insurance companies are very boxed into what sort of authority they have when it comes to trying to get a case resolved, right? So they literally can't go outside of their little lane of, okay, let's think practically and what's the best way to get this case resolved. They're just going to look at what the data is showing them, what the computer is showing them, is what they can offer in any case. That becomes a problem because you can't really get far when you're trying to do it pre-suit. So a lot of times, and it's probably going to happen in this case, you just have to file the lawsuit because it really becomes an issue that the jury's going to have to decide when it becomes, when the question is who's more at fault, who caused all the injuries, who caused some of the injuries. So that makes these cases a little more difficult and a little more nuanced. So what's your example?
So I've had a case recently where it was a 4-car chain wreck where one car hits another, hits another, hits another, and my client happened to be the second from the front. So she stops in traffic, she gets rear-ended, and then another car rear-ends her and pushes her into the car in front of her. So it's 4 cars, and the question becomes, again, where did it begin? How did it go? Now this case is a little, I think, more straightforward from a causation standpoint because generally, do you know what the main question is they ask my client in those cases?
Yeah, so anytime you've been hit twice, they always say, which one was the hardest? Which one did you feel the most?
Yep. Right. Or always starting with kind of, did you feel one, did you feel two?
Right.
Because if it's one, then there's one person at fault. If it's two, there's 2 people at fault. But then yes, immediately we're into that same realm of, well, which one caused more damage? They're trying to look at the front and the back of the cars and try to determine which impact was worse. Those are tough because, again, it happens so fast. There's really no way to, occasionally you might have a client who says, I felt an impact and my neck hurt, and then I felt another impact and my knee hit the dash. And you can kind of divide those two out. But even in that situation, it's
'cause
still so
what a lot of times is bang bang. It's super fast. Especially if it's in your scenario. I haven't read the police report or seen anything, but I would imagine that it's a situation where a car stops and then cars are stopping kind of suddenly.
Yep.
But the cars that don't follow too closely and give enough space to where if they do have to make a sudden stop, they're not going to hit the car in front of them. Those cars are fine, but then it's the last car that's like, oh dang, gonna hit them, and then it's like boom, boom, boom. So yeah, those are definitely difficult. And again, it's a bad thing in the sense that the insurance companies and the drivers and things like that are going to be pointing the finger at each other. So it's really hard to get those cases resolved on the front end. It could potentially be a good thing is if you have multiple insurance companies that are involved, and let's say you have really bad injuries, and one policy wouldn't necessarily cover all of your injuries, but both policies would. It can be good in that scenario. Another scenario I just want to touch on briefly before we wrap this thing up is that in your car wreck example or in other car wrecks where there's multiple people that have been injured in a car wreck, if you're dealing with policies or policy limits that are relatively low and you've got a lot of folks that have been injured, you need to be the first one to make a demand if your injuries warrant like a policy limits tender. And that's a little more in-depth topic that we can probably talk about in another video, but it just adds another, I guess, nuance or twist to the scenario where there's either multiple vehicles involved that caused the wreck or may have caused the wreck, but also multiple people that have been injured in a wreck. So anyway, well, I hope this video has been helpful. Again, we've seen some crazy stuff in the years that we've been doing this, and a lot of things that we see you wouldn't expect to see. But you do. So every case is different. There's a lot of nuances. There's no cookie cut answer. Even for what you would think is a simple car wreck, rear end collision, they're all very, very different, very unique, very personal, because we're personal injury lawyers, to each person involved. So anyway, hope this video has been helpful. Please like, comment, share. If you have any questions about any other topics you'd like for us to discuss, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we will see y'all in a few more weeks.
As personal injury lawyers, we love what we do, and we're happy to share the experience we've gained in personal injury law. To help our family, friends, and YouTube subscribers, we've shared over 300 personal injury videos covering various injury topics. So if you'd like to gain more knowledge that may help protect yourself or a loved one when you're on the roads or out in public, check out our channel or view our playlist of shorts for quick personal injury tips.